Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Chalkboard Chats. My name is Henry. I'm a life coach, and on this channel, I keep saying on this channel, we talk all things teaching and everything in support of teachers. And today, I wanted to share with you a little bit about the workshops that I've done because I did a workshop, leave work at work, leave work at work. It is true, leave work at work, to go home without thinking about your work. And one of the questions that I got was, do you never think about work in your free time? And I wanted to address that in this episode because I think it's so important to make that distinction between thinking about work and overthinking about work in your free time and what that looks like. So the problem with a lot of us teachers, also probably in other professions, but especially in teaching, is that we don't really are able to turn off our brain, our mind when we are in our free time. So we do this job, and for some reason, work just stays with us. And for the longest time, especially in the first couple of years, I've been in education now for a decade, and the first 5 years at least, it was it felt very draining because there was no moment where I actually felt recuperated, where I actually felt really relaxed and as if I was re-energized and ready to go back to work. So I would work during the week, and then during the weekend, I would still worry and think and have this like uneasy, uncomfortable feeling about work. And then the next week, I would just feel as if I hadn't had any free time, as if I hadn't had any time for myself because I constantly was thinking about work in the time that I actually did have for myself. And it is very hard to turn off the mind, to turn it off. There is unfortunately not an off switch. So at some point, this got worse and worse, and I realized I need to figure out a way to not think about work constantly because it is in essence just a job that pays the bills. But the way that we often talk about it is like, oh, you have to love what you do. So we automatically assume that if we have the freedom to choose whatever we want to do, it must be the thing that we love. However, we don't always love our jobs. And I don't think it's very useful to think of jobs with love because I see love as unconditional, and I do not love anything unconditional except for friends and family. Even hobbies. I don't love my hobbies unconditionally. I sometimes absolutely hate it. So I don't think it's very useful. So I see it most of the time as something that challenges me, that asks me to put time and effort into it and to create something amazing. And it pays the bills. In exchange of doing all these tasks, doing all this work, I get money, and I want money because I need to pay my bills. So when it got worse and worse, I realized that I was taking teaching on as an identity, and I saw myself often like a decent teacher, but not a good teacher. And that, oh my God, is draining. And in the free time that I did have, the evenings or one day off, I never felt as if I had that time for me. It was always more of a break from the classroom. And that is over time gets really draining to the point where only longer holidays made me actually feel rejuvenated. And that's not good at all. So when I learned life coaching, I started to apply those principles to my job. I thought, okay, I am learning all of these mental tools that are so amazing, that make such a big difference in my life. How can I apply this to this problem that I have? The problem being that on a Friday evening, I was still worried and stressed about work. On a Saturday, I was trying to just stay in bed because that was the easiest way to not think about work, just to sleep in, just to shut the mind off. And as soon as I was awake, I did not feel, excited because I just saw the weekend as only 2 days out of the classroom and not the 2 days that it can be. So I started to apply this, and let me tell you, the difference is huge. Now, when I say leave work at work, what I actually mean is mentally stop thinking about work as soon as you walk out of the door. And I have it down up to the point where we're going a little bit into the wrong direction. I I had my birthday last week and I went camping, and just before I left, I realized that there were still some tasks that I needed to finish. But as soon as I am out of the building, I just completely forget about it. I remember thinking, meeting up with an evening with in the evening with a friend and trying to tell her about what happened at work. And I was like, wait a minute, what happened? What day is it? What class did I teach? How did it go? Who was there? And I just couldn't remember it. And I do have to tell you, it's amazing when you're focused on what you need to do. And then when you're focused on separating the two things out, where you do the things at work at the time that you need to do it, the moment that you leave, just all the thoughts about work kind of like disappear. And it feels as if evenings are now long stretches of free time. And it is amazing. So, how to leave work at work. In the workshop, we actually walk through the situation that is nagging in your brain. So, when we think about work and it feels like upsetting or worrying, there is always a story that we keep telling ourselves. And in this workshop, we go through what the story is and we take it apart into different sections. And because I see it as like a mental roundabout, we take the story, we take it from the mental roundabout, we build an exit, and then we mentally park our cars at a dead end. We leave it there with determination, with confidence, and with calm, that when we come back to work, when we are back at the car, when it's time to, drive that car back through the roundabout and over to the other side, we're actually able to leave the car behind. And it is so amazing. Man, I'm so happy that I put it in words like this, because now when I finish work, I mentally make, I separate it all and I mentally make notes for all the little things that my mind keeps reminding me of. And as soon as I have filled that paper, it just feels like the whoosh from the sending an email on an iPhone, that just feels like a shoo, and it's gone. It's amazing. Now, the question that I had was, do you never think about work in your free time? Yes, I do. And here's an example. I bought, what did I buy? Oh, here. Let me just take it. I realized, that I didn't have a tape dispenser. So at some point I was like, you know what? I actually need a tape dispenser. And that came in this box. Now, the box just has this massive tape dispenser. And I was like, you know what? This could be actually really cool to put stickers in. And of course, I also have the stickers over here. Whoop. These stickers are for my students. These ones I keep at home, by the way, because these are so cool. But I have stickers at work, and now they're just like unraveling. And I was looking for something to keep it contained so that I just can take out the strip and distribute the stickers to the students. And I saw this thingy. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to throw it away. So I put paper on this, and look, I've been started to decorate it. Oh, this is a little tutorial that I found on YouTube, how to draw easy chickens. So I have a chicken and I have a frog, and there are more. There's like, I'm going to make a pig on this side and a couple of other animals. And this is what I do in my free time. In my free time, I do think about work, but I think about it in the way of with creativity, where I'm like, let me think through this issue. Let me think of this problem that I have. How can I solve it? And it usually takes just like half an hour with, and I have to say, like, it's not a worry, it's not a stress, but when you're completely calm and relaxed, the ideas just kind of bubble up. And I got home from the shopping and I saw this box and I was like, you know what? I can actually make some cool stuff with this. Now, this is just tiny little arts and crafts thingies. I do that a lot. I also had a Saturday evening where during the day I had so many appointments and activities, and in the evening I was like, I cannot deal with people anymore. So I stayed at home, and I think I was reading or something. I was watching something on YouTube, and all of a sudden I was like, Eureka, I have a solution for the problem that I faced early in the week. And because I'm not focused on the problem, I just let the problem be for a bit. And I wasn't worried. I wasn't stressed. I wasn't, tense about it. The solution, or an idea for a solution, who knows if it works, but the solution just came to me. And I was like, oh, I can do this activity. I can change it and see if it works for these students who have issues with staying focused during a longer activity. And I have to tell you, I was camping last weekend and the same thing happened. I was thinking about work, but more in the sense of like daydreaming. I was thinking, maybe I could change this a little bit. I could alter that activity. There are some activities in the book that I think are really good. Some activities are absolutely boring. And then I thought of new ideas. And the relationship with thoughts about work is so different than it was 5 years ago. 5 years ago, it felt like it was taking over my weekend, as if I couldn't enjoy dinner with friends, watching a movie without thinking about work. They felt very intrusive and very worrisome. And it annoyed me, it upset me, it frustrated me as well. Because if you're working a lot, there's not a lot of free time. And the free time that you do have, I really wanted to enjoy all of it. I didn't want to go there with a feeling, I didn't want to go for dinner with friends with a feeling of, oh, I have to think about work, or I have to, set work aside, or I have to do something with it. And now the freedom, the creativity, the inspiration, they are still thoughts about work, but they feel so different. And I can recommend this to everybody. If you've missed this workshop, I think I'm going to do them again later in February. And I think it's going to be a reoccurring one because I see it's so important to teach yourself this tool, to learn how to actually stop your mind from overthinking about one thing. And it is compartmentalizing for experts. But at some point, when you get it, it is so good because you can apply it to any other area in your life. The first time I've learned this was actually from my mother. I had a hard time at school. There were some groups of friends that weren't really friends anymore, and I wasn't very comfortable hanging out with them. I didn't really like it anymore. And I remember having a conversation with my mother, and I was like, school itself, was fine, but the social interactions, I was like, I don't really like it. I wasn't really bullied, not yet at that time, but it was just, you know, it was ruining my day. And I remember my mother actually saying, you have to compartmentalize. You deal with school when you get there. And as soon as school is finished, you are done. You don't have to do anything with the thoughts about school, the people. If you want, you can just completely be a whole different person. And that's how I learned to compartmentalize a little bit. And that got me through puberty, thank God. And now with work, now that I've gone through the weekends and evenings worrying and obsessing about work, now that I've gone through all of that and I've reapplied the same concept to my weekends, my free time, I feel as if I have the reins of my life back in my hands. It's such a difference when you can guide your brain, when you can guide your thoughts into a direction that actually works well for you. Now, this is not an instant off switch. I wish it was. So when something really, really intense happens at work, it is the process that you apply, the leaving work at work like process, takes on a bit of a different form. Instead of actually just completely being able to shut it off and turn it down, it may look like revisiting it every hour. I remember one observation going, I wouldn't say it going wrong, but it turned out terrible. Me and my management got into quite the argument. And I remember being home. Let's see, my classes finished at 7. And I remember sitting there. I took my dog. I drove home and I was like, what happened? I picked up my dog, went for some food, and it took me like an hour and a half, 2 hours of just letting my brain revisit what happened. So between 5 and 7, I had the observation, didn't go well. He accused me of something. It was just mean. And 2 hours after that, I was still every now and then revisiting the situation. And I was just asking myself all these questions. While I was asking myself these questions, I was just looking at the questions. Instead of answering, instead of reacting to them, I was like, wait a minute, am I really wondering if I'm a good teacher? Am I really wondering if I should have done something differently? What if I should have done something differently? Let's go into that direction. And the whole relationship with those thoughts was very gentle, very caring. It was very calm. And I was just looking at it like every now and then the wave of just frustration and all those thoughts and the worries they would come. I would sit with them, make some space, and like really sink into that feeling. And then the next day, it was just as if nothing happened. And I had mentally parked my car, my stress and my worries. I had written down all the questions that I was asking. I had written down all the frustrations that I had. And the next day just felt like a new day. I was like, this is what happened yesterday. This is now in the past. On to the next phase, on to the feedback session after the observation. And just that switch from having the observation and finishing it with high emotions, it was very, very frustrating. And then to calm back down out of the, intenseness of those feelings, and then to be mentally ready to talk about it. That was just one day, and it has changed my life. The approach, the way of doing this, the taking your mental car of the roundabout and parking it somewhere where you can leave it for the night, for the time being, and then just go on with your life. It like refills me with new energy. And the next day was just like, it's a new week, it's a new day, it's a new chance. Let's have this conversation. Yes, I felt all the frustrations, but because I felt them then, I really sat with them and I sunk into them. They didn't really have a hold on me. Every time I did think about the observation itself, it just gave me this like woof, rush of frustration, but it didn't stay. It didn't stick. And I didn't communicate about the next conversation from frustration at all. I went in with a sense of determination and said, let's have this conversation. Now, just to finish up the story, management canceled the meeting twice. And at some point I was like, you know what? If you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. I tried. I really tried. If you cancel twice, I stopped putting effort into trying to make this happen. So that was my observation. And after that, I look back at the observation with just as if it's something happened in the past, which it is, of course, but I don't have the frustrations anymore. I don't have the sheer anger. Oh, I was so mad. And now I look back at it with kind of like wonder and curiosity. I was like, what on earth happened there? How did we get here? How did this blow up in such a dramatic fashion? And that is it. That is the relation that I had. Then the weekend, so the observation happened on a Thursday. The communication about the meeting, the feedback session after an observation happened over a week, I think. But because I had so well processed everything that happened during the observation, I was ready for that conversation. And I didn't take any of the frustrations with me. I was just determined to have this conversation and to speak the words what I wanted to say and come from a place of confidence. And after that, when we didn't have that meeting, it just kind of went away. It's kind of like the cloud rained and then it was like, whoop, and it's gone. That was it. I can highly, highly recommend this to everybody who is still worrying in their free time, still not enjoying the time off, and still feeling as if they're mentally still at work, still have to do things. Join the workshops. The link is in the description below. It's an Eventbrite link. You just have to click on a couple of things, send your email address in, and then you get the Zoom link and the date. Make sure you check when it is, because I am in Asia, so I have GMT +7, and I host them twice. I host them for the east side of the world, and I host them for the west side of the world. So check out which one is best for you. I can highly recommend it because it has given me my free time back. And now with my free time back, I show up to work with just energy, and I'm like excited. I get to do this. I have a job. It pays me well. Such friendly people around me. It challenges me. It helps me grow. And with that energy, to come back from any holiday, to come back from your free time, showing up to work like that makes all the difference. It really staves off burnout. I can tell you that. I've gone through that one, and that's intense. So if you want to join, click on the Eventbrite link and you'll see all the workshops that I have coming up. That is it, what I have for you. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.